Oh no, so are you saying we're actually crazy people?
Yes. Absolutely.
I thought I was normal.
I don't think that's, you don't think you're normal.
Man.
This is,
well, we're not Iranian terrorists. Holy mackerel. What's up, people? It got Ed in his Murcielago. Yes. It's got a stick shift.
It's got a stick shift.
Well done, sir. Well done. So, you know I love Lamborghinis.
I do know.
I had one. It's bittersweet because it's past tense. I had one.
Yes.
But we could have fun today.
Yeah.
So why this car?
Man, for me, this is the car. I remember the first time I saw the first magazine articles that came out about the Murci, and they were Road and Track had covered them setting the record for fastest 100 miles, fastest 100 kilometers, and
yes,
furthest distance driven in an hour at Nardo.
Oh, really?
And it had beaten the Ferrari 550 Maranello's records. Yes. And so I just loved it. And I thought was immediately beautiful.
Yeah.
Not, like the Diablo I thought was outrageous and awesome.
Right.
But not always beautiful. I mean, I would say a 94 SE30 is beautiful.
Diablos have some funky angles.
A GT is like a McLaren F1. Like,
oh yeah,
awesome, but not beautiful the way an E-Type, a 300 SL.
True. Not classic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Whatever. So those things, I thought, I just saw a Murci and I was like, that is it. And there's something about the cars that are cool when you're 18 years old that nothing can ever be cooler than.
Right.
And that's really where I started to encounter these things. And when the LP640 came out as a little bit of a more usable iteration of the Murci.
Why is that?
Well, it's got a much lighter all-wheel drive setup. It's got about 100 pound-feet more of torque.
Okay.
And so the infotainment and all that doesn't matter, but the switches, everything else works. The suspension's a lot better. The brakes are a good bit better, and it makes a little bit more power.
Yeah.
But it just became a little bit of a more usable thing. And it's still the most useless automobile that's ever been allowed to be built. But at the same time, I like that almost from a martyrdom complex. That when you drive this car somewhere, you feel it. Like,
yes,
I drove a cool car somewhere. I didn't just go to a place.
Right.
And that's why I love them. And so I bought my first one in 2012. I had very much like a quarter-life crisis.
Yeah.
Like I was just early in marriage, selling cars, like felt like everything I was doing was for like normal life goals and not indulging selfish desires. And I kind of reacted overly to that. In less than a month, I bought this. I bought the first LP640, which was an orange Roadster.
Okay.
I bought the CL55 we set the Cannonball record in, and I bought Sonny the Lamboa.
Oh, really?
And so I was just like, for the next little while, I'm gonna do what I want. And it was treat yourself. And so I had a blast. I loved the car. And
yes,
that one I really enjoyed. I had it for about 2 years.
Yeah.
And it was a great car, but being a roadster, it was nice to be able to sit up straight, but it was really hard to use. The top's just awful. And so I ended up selling it, and I bought a coupe.
Okay.
And drove it like 10,000 miles in a year, which in Lamborghini usage is high.
Oh yeah.
And then I found a stick one, and I had sold a few of the stick ones prior to that, but I knew they were hard to find, but I kept a pretty good eye on the Lambo market, so I could find them when I needed to. And so that to me was always the asterisk in driving the E-Gear cars, is that the car's fantastic, but the gearbox is a little bit sluggish.
You want more reward for your driving effort.
And between gears, they're fine, right? Like a good sequential manual gearbox is no big deal between gears, but leaving from a stop and going in reverse is an utter pain. And so I really didn't like the E-Gear for that reason. Yeah. And so I always wanted a stick, but you just could never find one like when it was really time to buy something. Right. And so I found one and got a massive loan for it. And then I was like, you know what, I'm going to figure out exactly how rare these things are. Like, because everybody had said that once sequential manual gearboxes became available, that about 95% was the adoption rate.
That's amazing.
It is. But in fact, it was over 99%.
Really?
And so, particularly with LP640s, so I started making a list, and I could only find like 23 or 24.
Well, was it kind of that effort that ended up leading you to the VINwiki concept?
Correct. Absolutely, yeah. So I started finding the VINs, and I made a list of them. And so I've got mine, which was honestly probably the nicest one out there. It was the last 08 build. It was Verde Ithaca.
First, you're talking all kind of nerd details, man. I'm geeking out in terms of driving experience over here.
Well, there you go.
This seat is great.
Yes.
Like my Countach, I love that car.
Right.
But it was old and arty and rough around the edges and rattly. But you can tell this is the same lineage, all the same character and love, except I'm not boiling. I can hear you, but it sounds amazing.
Right.
This seat is great, and it feels tight and awesome like the whole way around.
Well, and that's the cool part is that everything that's cool about a Miura Countach Diablo is still very cool about a Mercy.
Yeah.
But you can use it. So, I mean, I've got almost 43,000 miles on this car.
Well, yeah, that's what you want.
And I don't worry about it stranding us somewhere.
My Countach, I didn't worry about that, but I was so particular about where to take it out and what to do with it, because it was a piece of art. It was a good car, but it required so much sympathetic love and ownership.
The mindfulness that's required, and that's still there. Like, I've got to think, all right, are we going to go have to park somewhere where I, you know, whatever, can't do something? Or is, you know, is there going to be a transition in the road or whatever?
Right, of course.
And that's
you're not just bombing around in a Range Rover or something.
But again, I don't really hesitate to do anything in the car. I mean, it's the car I drive most.
Yes.
I've got the AMG Mercedes cars, and I've got a Scud now, and the 993 and stuff. But this by far is my favorite, because everything that should be cool about a car is cool about this. And to me, it's the perfect VINwiki story car, right? So like, it is where the idea of VINwiki kind of found its genesis.
Yes.
This, and I had always kept a list of all the VINs of all the cars I'd owned on my personal website, so that if somebody bought one in the future, they would find me. So they Google their VIN, and I find out where it's at. But, you know, there's a 458 about to pass us, and as brilliant a car as that sort of is, it feels very sterile relative to a lot of older exotics. But normally, an older exotic comes with the, but you really can't drive the thing. This toes that balance as a point in supercar history that is, I don't think it can be repeated.
No, I agree with you. I think the Murcielago, especially if you can find a stick shift one, hit the pinnacle or the peak of supercar art, over the top, amazing, but I'm actually going to be able to enjoy this and drive it.
And so, through the documentation of the rarity...
It sucks, because I really, really want one. But I can't afford one right now.
One day.
One day.
One day. Through the documentation of the rarity, they doubled in value. So I used the profit from the first one, the Verde Ithaca car, to buy the roughest one ever.
Oh, I see.
Which I recently found out had been owned by an Iranian terrorist drug dealer, and his guy had a dealership in Canada.
I feel like this is the bad guys from Back to the Future.
And so he was using his car dealership to sell cars into the U.S. and hide drugs in the frame rails.
Oh, for God's sake.
The guy who got his daughter pregnant called me.
Oh, please keep this story going.
He had been working for this guy's dealership. And then they got married in their teenage years, and this was this guy's father-in-law, and unfortunately the marriage didn't work out. But this guy had fallen under investigation by whatever the FBI of Canada is, the Royal Mounted Police, I'd imagine. And so they'd frozen all of his assets, and at the time he had this Grigio Telesto manual LP640 for sale on consignment. And
that's this car?
No, this is the previous one.
Oh, I see.
So this is the one I bought immediately following the first stick car, which was Verde Ithaca. So that one, they went out driving one night because for some reason it had to be out of the showroom. And he's drinking, his 15, 16-year-old son-in-law's drinking, and they eventually, I think he decides he's had too much to drink, so he's going to let his drunk son-in-law drive it. And the son-in-law immediately crashes the car. They abandon it in the middle of the highway in Canada in the middle of the night, run down the highway, find a hole in the fence, go through the fence, find a taxi cab. They've taken the dealer tag off the car.
I imagine they called and reported it stolen.
And they reported it stolen.
Well, they may be drunk, but they're clever.
Exactly. But they were not clever enough. The cops, since they'd already been under investigation, ended up not really like filing it as stolen. So it showed as a theft recovery on Carfax, but it never really had the right branding of the title.
Oh, I see.
Because after that, it was like 2009, and so the car was only a couple of years old, and it was the worst time in the U.S. economy to sell an exotic car. And so they decided that the best place to sell it was in the Middle East. But since the dealer, ex-terrorist, was no longer welcomed in Iran, they went to Lebanon.
Oh my God.
And I actually had somebody comment on a VINwiki YouTube video that they had seen this car in Beirut. And I mean, you know, it was probably the only Grigio Telesto over red stick LP640 ever produced. So, I mean, it was kind of believable, and then it started to make sense. And actually, another VINwiki user found a shipping manifest with the VIN from like 2009 or 10 going either to or from Lebanon. So then it came back into the US and got a bonded title. So one of those things, either going to Lebanon or coming back into the US, washed any brands that would have existed either for theft recovery or for salvage. And so I bought it as a clean title car that obviously had some weird history.
I'll be darned.
So yeah, so that one I bought for less than the profit on the green car. So it was effectively free.
Fascinating.
And then I had somebody offer me $100 grand more than I paid for that one, and felt I had to take it. I was not in a position to turn down such profits. And I thought, all right, maybe I'm going to buy something else that I'd always loved, like a Scuderia or a Stick V10 R8 or something else. And I couldn't love anything as much as I love these cars.
Oh, I don't blame you.
Calls me, and he has a black one with 38,000 miles, and it needs at least 2/3 of it repainted. So the front was all road rashed up, the rockers were a little banged up, there were some holes in the quarters from a wing mounted. And so I hate owning black cars because I hate cleaning cars, and I'd always loved the press car. So there was a press car that was on Top Gear that was a color called Verde Draco, or Dragon Green, and I just thought it's such a cool color, but nobody in the US ordered it. So there were no US Mercies in Verde Draco. And if this car was already black, which is a perfect color to color change, and we're gonna have to paint 2/3 of it anyway, totally changing the color made a lot of sense.
Car.
So that's this car.
Gotcha.
It was black originally. It's a US car with a clean title. At one point it was rear-wheel drive converted and had these terrible aftermarket wheels and this giant wing. But, you know, mechanically it was solid, and
helps you get a better deal on a car you can fix up.
Exactly, exactly. So I ended up with a better example for less than I ended up getting for the gray car in this one. And so, like I said, to me, it's just the ultimate car for me.
Okay, so that reminds me. I think the craziest story about a past car I got, I had a Lotus 11 Le Mans. Very, very rare race car from the mid-50s that I had to restore. And the serial tags, you know how it is with old race cars, they end up having more than they originally were. Mine didn't have a tag, but it was a real car. Apparently there's something about the history in the 90s, some Japanese investors bought it or something, and then it got seized by the IRS, and then later sold at auction, so it was known as the IRS Lotus 11. And that was the car I had, and I got a good deal on it. I had to restore it back then. I was so happy because it was like my only chance in the world of affording that car to build a restore and get it. Bought it from a English teacher, English university teacher that has a little farmhouse in Virginia, a real nice guy. And then later, after I restored this thing, a Lotus 11 historian called me because he knew of it, and he knew the lineage, and he knew what serial number car it was, and was willing and vouched for it being a legit car with the right serial number, which was great.
Well, and radically transforms the value.
It helps my saleability at that time, yes.
Exactly. What did that knowledge add to the value of the car, either on a dollar basis or a percentage basis?
You know, I would say 60%.
Yes. And so that's really the premise of VINwiki, right? Is that all of these historians can, over time, compile their records onto a public-facing database that can be checked by the masses, with them remaining the consummate expert.
True.
And it just builds a much bigger living database. I mean, VINwiki, even after just 3 years, is already the largest public-facing automotive database that exists. We've got 165 million cars in the app database and 220,000 contributing users. And so it's it's working, but it takes time to scale. And so, you know, we've used the YouTube channel as a marketing effort, a way to promote it and things like that. But at the end of the day, you know, nobody knows exactly what it's going to become at scale.
Well, it's definitely going somewhere.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And, you know, I was just thinking, so you're mentioning the app, the VINwiki app, right? The VIN, the tracking that, knowing it, maybe finding cars you used to have, you want again, all this sort of thing. But I love the YouTube channel because then we get to tell the absurd stories.
Well, and that's the thing, like the stories make the car. I mean, you know, a slightly miley paintwork 07 stick LP640 is one thing.
Yeah.
One owned by an Iranian terrorist drug dealer that went on vacation to Lebanon.
It's great.
It's better.
So here's something. Okay, in the scale of ridiculous people that are into exotic cars, where do you and I actually fit in that?
I think we're the bookend on that one.
Are we on the bottom? We're the boring ones?
Oh, no. I think most people... So the reason that people love automotive YouTube content is that in most cases, you're watching people live out a fantasy you have with risks you would never be willing to take.
Oh, no. So are you saying we're actually crazy people?
Yes. Absolutely.
I thought I was normal.
I don't think that's... you don't think you're normal.
Man.
This is...
well, we're not Iranian terrorists.
No, we're not.
That's more.
That I suppose, but you know, at the same time,
you're crushing my dreams. That I thought I was a normal person.
Differently than like Freddie and Hoovy and all these guys that have these rebuilds and or just buy terrible cars that really don't even merit resurrection. That, you know, in these cases, you've got people who are really experiencing the bad outcomes. In most cases, we've been able to avoid those bad outcomes.
That's because they're expensive usually.
Well, yeah, we can't afford the bad outcomes. That's exactly correct. And that's like, you know, I just bought the newest car I've ever bought. It's a 5-year-old GL63 for my wife.
Oh, that's pretty new.
Yeah, which is like crazy. It has a year of warranty from CPO.
Oh.
I've never owned a car with a warranty.
What?
I don't even know what that's like.
That's like the Family Guy where Peter's hanging out with Bill Gates and like other wealthy guys, and somebody's like, "Oh, we're at a toll. Does anybody have a quarter?" And Bill Gates like, "What's a quarter?"
Exactly. But you know, people would see these kinds of cars and think, "Oh my goodness, this guy is so rich."
Oh, yeah, right.
In reality, that guy just has really good credit.
Right, you know, and it's funny because, like, on VINwiki, I tell a story about, like, a race car I have, and I'll say, well, that was all I owned in the world. They're like, you're rich. I'm like, no, I owned a car. That was it. Like,
that can't be driven in real places.
Yeah.
Yes. And
I am by all intents... Darn it, I thought I was normal. Now look what you've done. I am by all intents and purposes a madman.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and that's... I mean, we all need to indulge craziness in some form, right? So I think it's...
I just made it functional.
Yes, exactly.
I'm a socially functioning insane person.
Self-enabling.
Man.
And yeah, so that's the nature of it.
Okay. So here we're doing a real world thing right now.
We're sitting in traffic.
We are real people.
Yes.
In a car.
People are going to work.
Yeah.
They're going to eat some Welcome to Moe's. But no, you know, when you own a weird car, you want to feel it. Like it needs to mean something to use it. And to me, that's what this is. Like, you never take it somewhere and feel like, oh, that was just business as usual. This Hyundai Sonata, he will not remember what it was like to do this in a Hyundai Sonata. No. It's an unremarkable experience, even if it's a limited.
What you mean to say is it is a reasonable and comfortable experience.
It's the right way to do it. Right.
Your air conditioning works, though.
It newly does.
That is better than my Viper.
This is a development of this week. I've owned the car for a year and a half without air conditioning because, unfortunately, Lamborghini stopped producing, or at least ordering, the evaporators.
Do these windows actually go down?
They come down.
Really?
Yeah.
Misa Countach. Ooh, beveled glass. Fancy.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, my gosh. I can put my whole arm out here.
That's right, yeah.
Oh, this is fun. Well, I appreciate you having me down.
Oh, of course. Always great to have you.
This is exciting.
So what is, you know, the thing that I've struggled with now.
Yes.
This was a real thing. Like, the moment that I bought the first stick LP640, the green car, even though I had a, you know, $200,000 loan on it, and that I really had, you know, no means of having or
that's a nice house.
Oh yeah, for sure. But so even though that was a downside, I couldn't want another car more. Like, that was it.
I know what you mean.
And now that I've been able to, you know, cartwheel through them and end up owning one without a loan by using the profits from the old ones, like, I'm having a really hard time wanting any car more than this, which as a car guy's hard, right? We live our lives.
I know what you mean.
One car goal at a time, and I had to decide a couple of years ago, like, one day I got to buy a Veyron.
I might only have a few minutes on my memory card.
Oh yeah.
So you want a Veyron?
I do. I think it's the only thing that's better.
Yes.
But it's also
man,
so expensive.
Don't you have to glue the tires on and everything?
Yes. And the process of ungluing them to change them means that every third set you got to buy a new $60,000 set of wheels.
Well, for me, I had a lot of cars. I had a lot of fun. I built them, and maybe I only had one car at a time, but I just kept going because that's what car guys do. We want to explore. We want to have fun. I mean, that's why you date before you get married, right? You're looking for that perfect thing.
Yes.
I love my Viper. I'm gonna keep that forever and enjoy it forever. Frankly, would I like to get a car that's hopefully as exciting, that's maybe more comfortable someday?
Right.
Yeah. And do I miss having my Countach or someday a Murcielago? Absolutely. But I guess if you're a really good car guy and you figure stuff out, eventually you get to a point where you're like, oh crud, I've got what I want. So then what do we do?
I don't know.
Adopt a new philosophy?
Yeah, I guess you buy a plane or a boat or something. But, but that's even worse to maintain. I guess that's the thing. Like when these things came out,
yes,
Mercy maintenance was horrifying.
Was it?
Because the motors got to come out for a clutch.
Oh yeah, that's a big deal.
And they were a little bit prone to some suspension issues and things like that. The brake components are expensive, and then suddenly everything's double clutch.
Yeah.
And you start to get to non-serviceable parts. Like if that 458's gearbox goes,
you just gearbox.
It's 30 grand gearbox.
That's madness.
That's all you got to do. When Aventador gearboxes go, so like a really bad day on a stick Mercy is 10 grand, and that's a lot of money. But a really bad day on anything newer than it is $50,000, and that's not like there's a rumor this happened to somebody. That's like there's a class action. I mean, it's like that's such a wildly.
You and I have discussed cars that are even newer than this with all the electronics and pneumatics and hydraulics. There's going to be a point where
non-serviceable.
Won't they just tank in value eventually? Maybe.
Well, I mean,
I don't know.
They're having this issue with LaFerrari's 918s and P1s.
Oh,
the batteries don't work because they haven't been discharged.
So you basically end up having an SR71 Blackbird in a museum.
Yeah. I like that it's not forced induction.
Oh yeah.
The only thing that would make it better is if it had roll-up windows.
Like what you mean?
Things that can't break. I don't want any. Like I told you on your Viper, the electronic door latches. I hate electronic door latches.
Those actually work pretty well, though.
I believe you.
Corvettes stink. The Viper's pretty good.
Right. In every way, right?
Well, C6.
But no, like manual seats, manual gearbox, manual steering column, fixed suspension.
You know what this reminds me of? A Lotus Exige Elise, but on super steroids.
Yes.
And I like that.
And honestly, even the engine characteristic, like it's super cammy.
Yeah.
It has almost a VTEC feel.
But it's very smooth and tractable torque-wise.
Exactly.
Like you're driving around without any fancy footwork or cursing.
Yeah, exactly. Right. That's it.
I'm a big fan of naturally aspirated, though.
Yeah.
Turboing.
NASCAR Georgia license plates.
I'll be darned.
That's new. How about that in the Chrysler 300? Sorry, I interrupted.
Race on Sunday, sell license plates on Monday.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. But sorry, you were saying?
Oh, I don't know. I'm a big fan of naturally aspirated. I want to hear the engine. I don't want more stuff to break or more stuff to rag out an engine. Like people always say with the Viper, you want a twin turbo, I put a supercharger on. I'm like, no. I want to put another 90,000 miles on this, and it's already fast and sounds good.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, all right, we just drove this thing, and we got up in the revs, but I don't think we went over 65 miles an hour.
We're not going to jail by any means.
But I enjoy going out in the car like that.
Yes.
Whereas if we were in a 488 and we just did that drive, it would feel like a Camry.
Yes.
There'd be no difference of the experience.
Yeah.
It's like, it looks pretty and it sounds okay. But
this is more of a celebration to get it out.
Exactly.
And like I said, okay, so my Aston Martin DB7's V12.
Right.
And I straight pipe the exhaust with the X-pipe, so it has that pretty buttery sound. But the Aston Martin is so sound deadened, and with the engine being in the front, you don't hear it with the windows up.
Right.
So unless you have the window down and there's a wall to echo, you don't get it. I mean, it's refined, it's smooth. You take your wife out to dinner, it's great. But the thing that's nice about this is the sound surrounds you, like huddles you with this like blanket of speed. I love that.
And if you think about the noises a car can make, like it can scream,
yes,
like a Banshee V8.
Yeah, like a motorcycle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or it can growl.
Yes.
But this car howls.
Yeah.
It has this kind of, you know, experience to the noise, and to me it's just perfect. And this one still has the primary cats. The secondary cats are deleted. Okay. So it makes enough back pressure to have low end torque. Like it's a very tameable, manageable car. Mm-hmm. And I love it. It's everything a car ought to be. And when it came out, I mean, this thing is as fast as an Enzo. Yeah. In pretty much every performance criteria.
Is it really?
Yeah, it was like, I think an Enzo, like on the Top Gear test track, did a 119, and this did like a 119.
I'm going to edit this because you're going to drive up the prices and make it harder for me to get one right now. Knock it off, man. I still got to get there.
Well, I might know where you can get the all the drivetrain to a manual car. You can buy you an e-gear one in a deal.
Oh yeah,
you could swap it.
Oh yeah. Ooh. What about all that electronic?
You'd swap the whole car. So what I bought was this guy was selling everything that came out of an early manual car. So it wouldn't work for a 640, but you could do an 04, 05, 06 e-gear car, and you literally swap the motor, transmission, the body harness, everything.
Fascinating.
And then just put the e-gear stuff, you know, on a shelf. And
what's the price difference of manual Murcielagos versus the e-gear ones?
So on an early car, well, it's interesting because 02s and 03s are all sticks. So those cars are going to cost you $170 to $275 grand.
Oh.
Then the 04, 05, 06 became rare. Okay. So those you're going to pay at least $100,000 to $150,000 premium for a manual. Okay. And then on a LP640, it's at least double and starting to be triple.
Wait, you play $100,000 to $150,000 grand premium just for stick shift over the normal Murcielago? See, that's kind of madness.
Well, right now there's some evidence that it's $300,000 to $400,000 on a 640.
Really?
I mean, the recent transactions are.
Yeah, that is kind of a bummer. I would want to convert it because I want that driving experience.
You can't convert it unless you have all the stuff from a donor car.
I guess so.
Because the factory won't sell or can't sell you everything. Okay. And you have to have a stick car's ECU.
Man, I appreciate it. I appreciate you taking the time. You're killing me, Smalls. Now I got to figure out how to get a Murcielago. Go! Yes. Hope you guys like it. See you next time.
Please subscribe.